Here we go. How you doing, mate? How you doing?
Marcio, thank you. Oh man, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on here. This is cool that you're
Yeah,
doing the YouTube thing. I'm pretty impressed. It's awesome.
yeah, man. It's a pleasure to have you on board. I'm happy to interview you today. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have some conversations about, you know, basically arm
Yeah,
wrestling, of course.
yeah. No, I
And
just think, like I said, I just want to say I think it's awesome that you're on the YouTube space because um, you are an athlete that's a legend of the sport without a doubt. And so anything you say in this world of YouTube arm wrestling, people are going to want to hear it. So man, I'm just honored to be on here early. Cool.
nice, nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you. Listen, I got a question for you because I know your nickname is Blue.
Yeah, yeah,
Can you tell
yeah.
me where this came from?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Easy, easy, easy. Blue is just because of my red hair. So yeah, I think World War One, any Australian soldier that had red hair, when people didn't know their names, they yelled out, "Hey, Blue!" And so I was in the military, and I was
Oh,
climbing I was doing a physical training session. I was up the top of a rope tower, and the physical training instructor didn't know what my name was, so he just yelled out, "Hey, Blue!" And it's stuck ever since. So
and
that's
stick
it,
with
man.
you.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's funny.
What about you? What about your nickname? Master. Is it
Yeah, it's
Phenom?
the Phenom. It's because I got this nickname. It's funny thing because when I started competing in Arm Wars with Neil Pickup, he started calling me Primal because he
Mm.
asked me a nickname. I was like, no, I don't remember having. But my friend who was pissed with me was like, Marcio, how you say that? I was like, oh, then I forgot. He gave me a nickname as Phenom
Yeah.
in Brazil because I started like I didn't take long to reach the high level, like national
Mm. Mm.
competition. And you know, I just appeared. I was lightweight, and in less than a year, I was a national champion. And was beating. I was 75 kilos, believe it or not. I was 18,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
already beating
But
top.
I had the same thing that when I was early 20s, I was I couldn't put on weight to save myself. I remember saying to my friends, I just wish I could get to 80 kilos. I just want to get to 80 kilos. And I would eat as much as I could. I would train as hard as I could, and I just eternally stay at 75. But then now I'm 97. So
Wow.
it eventually gets there.
It's eating is good, man. I remember.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I had the same story. Uh, I had the same story. But nice. So that's how you got your nickname, huh? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of people ask me about it. It's not a common nickname among nicknames, I guess, in the sporting world. But yeah, that's where it came from, and I quite like it. It's something. It's like calling a big guy tiny, or
Hmm.
or a fat guy skinny, or a skinny guy fat, or whatever. It's just yeah, that sort of thing. But World War One,
How long you been in the sport, Ryan? To
and
my
I I
curiosity.
I found the sport in 2013. I think it was
Eight
uh,
years.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just going on 8 years. It was early 2013, so we're pretty much on 8 years now. But I always loved arm wrestling. I grew up arm wrestling with my dad all the time, and being the strongest arm wrestler in the school. And I actually remember one day I came home from school. I think it was in year 11, so just before finishing high school. I came home and I said to my mum, "I had the worst day I've ever had in my life," and she was thinking something really bad had gone wrong. And when she asked what was up, I said, I lost my first ever arm wrestle. I couldn't believe it. It was Jimmy Coleman, and I still to this day I'm waiting for a high school reunion or something just so I can get revenge on Jimmy Coleman.
Wow. I remember it was my you know it's my dad and my mom. They're pretty strong in arm wrestling. I mean, like in a regular table. I
Mm,
remember my mom. I had a uh, uncle. He was like about 90 kilos, and my mom was a little heavy. She was like 5'6" maybe, and she
mm,
was about 185 pounds, a little chubby, but she was
yep.
strong.
Yeah.
My uncle couldn't beat my mom. I remember,
That's amazing.
and she got a
Did
small
you
hand,
have
and it was
thick
like
wrists or what?
thick wrist and big bicep, but never trained, always home. And it's funny because my sister also arm wrestled. She arm wrestled for like 5 years,
Mm,
She she was a state champion and the second in nationals for 4 or 5 years straight, but she
mm,
couldn't touch
mm.
my mom. It's funny though.
There you go.
She couldn't
There
even
you
move my
go.
mom.
Well, we know who you take after then, eh?
Yeah. My dad too.
Oh,
My dad it was a truck driver. He used to arm wrestle. I never see him losing. I beat him when I was 17 for the first time.
so you grew up arm wrestling in your family? That was it was a common thing.
Yeah, it was not like arm wrestling. We grab hands like this or this. It was
Yeah,
that kind of bar thing.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
yeah,
fun. It was
yeah.
always
Well,
like,
for me, when I was 12 years old, I made a bet with my dad. I made a $50 bet with my dad. Not that I had $50 to bet with, but I said, "Hey, Dad, $50 on my 18th birthday for whoever wins the arm wrestle." And um, in the lead up to my 18th birthday, we used to have this old bench press um, uh, table set up out in my garage that had a leg extension on it for training your quads. And
okay.
I used to put my elbow down on the bench press and use that leg extension to train. And anyway, when I got to
Uh-huh.
my 18th birthday, my dad crushed me. I got slaughtered by him. So,
How old you were?
but
18?
I was 18 and he crushed me. But I beat him by the time I was 19. But yeah, dad's just been one of those farmer type manual labor, hand and wrist.
Mm,
Not a lot of bicep, just all hand and wrist. Just
mm.
flash pin me. So, but yeah, it was good fun growing up. That was the kind of thing that we did all the time. I used to play tennis primarily, and I remember being at a tennis tournament one day, and there was these two two bodybuilding looking guys there that were
Mhm.
arm wrestling each other, and I was just eavesdropping on this situation, and one guy won, and he was pretty proud of himself, and he was talking up how he'd never lost an arm wrestle.
Oh,
And
those
straight away
guys.
I said, and I was only 14 at the time, but what I didn't volunteer myself. I volunteered my dad. I said, I bet you my dad could beat you. And he was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And so he wandered over to where my dad was, and my dad looks at this guy and like, geez, Ryan, what are you done to me? This guy's a big bodybuilder. Anyway, they gripped up, and the bodybuilding young guy could not move my dad at all. My dad just sit there and held center like, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
strong hand and wrist is always weird. I've seen
Yeah.
those everywhere. I remember one time a friend, I was still in the army. I served the army over there when I was 18, 19 years old.
Mhm.
And that's actually I won they had a like Olympic competition for in the
Mm.
army, every type of sport. I had no idea they had arm wrestling. And I was already competing for like a year, almost like a year,
Yeah.
and I won the whole thing over there overall. I was like 78 kilos,
Yeah.
79 kilos of
Yeah. There you
beat a
go.
big guy. I think he was a sergeant. He was like
Yep.
100, 200, like 120 kilos, like 6'4", huge.
Mm.
And
Uh,
everybody
uh,
was
uh,
impressed because I beat him so quick.
yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
they never seen anything like it. I'm like,
How on earth did like? It took a long time for me to discover the world of arm wrestling because I found it through the internet eventually. Um,
okay.
but like it didn't exist in Australia in any sort of professional capacity. And how did you actually find the professional side of it? Like when did you make the transition from arm wrestling your friends and family to all of a sudden making a real go of it?
Um, I always liked the sports that I mean. I played soccer before at
Mm,
pretty good level, volleyball stuff like that. But I always liked to get strong. I always doing push-ups, pull-ups on my own. Always watching martial arts, Bruce Lee stuff,
mm,
and always wanted to be competitive at something. A friend of mine, this is a long time ago, probably 30 years ago. I'm getting old. So he invited me to watch him competing at the state tournament, and I'm like, really?
yeah,
He was a very lightweight. I think it was 100 under 130 pounds. Like I think they had 55 kilos or 60 kilos back then. Same thing as the WEF. And I went over there and he took second, like in the state, and he only lost to a guy who was already national champ and was unbeatable for like quite some time.
mm,
And then he we tried to pull after. He couldn't touch me. Then I pulled somebody that he was the guy who discovered me. He's unfortunately he passed away very young. He didn't get to see me,
Mm,
continue.
mm,
But he saw for a few years. He saw me becoming a national champ. Like he discovered me. He brought me to competition, to training, and it was fun. Like, but the thing that gives me a go, it was like one time he brought me to it was to the school, to a school, and they had arm wrestling there. I had no idea. They had a sit down table. It was before a stand up. It was sit down table. This is 1991, if I'm not mistaken.
mm.
And the guy was, we were all 17 back then, 17 to 18. And the guy was a school champion or something like that. And he was a defending state junior champion, right? So he didn't even look at my face. He was just holding me like this. He would let me get like 2 inches from the pad, and he was talking, looking the other side, and then he'll bring me back, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going straight side pressure.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
yeah,
He just went
yeah.
with this lock, with the shoulder, and then boom, to the other side. I'm like, oh my god, this hurts, but I had no idea. But that
Yeah, I
gives me
remember.
a drive.
Yeah,
I start, yeah, I start going home. It's funny how, believe it or not, how I started training on my own. I didn't see my
hmm
friend for like a month. I was I grabbed like a 4x4, like a wood post, the ones you see in Home Depot and on those
hmm
stores, like 10 foot high, and I was doing curls, wrist. I was
uh
getting a tennis ball and doing grip, and I saw the movie Over the Top. Remember
Yeah,
when Stallone used to grab in the
yeah,
front of the
yeah,
truck and open and coming back? I
yeah.
wrapped some rope around my wrist and I was letting my body go and come back. I kind of did some
Some funky stuff.
exercises in my arms like in a month. I measured them like I don't remember how much it was, but it was like normal and it grew like 4 or 5 centimeters, forearms, bicep, just doing that kind of stuff.
Uh,
But I was doing it every single day. And I
yeah.
was
Wait,
going on the top of the house and doing pull-ups. And
and
there
how'd you
is
go?
a
How'd you go after the month once you faced him again?
yeah. I was then yeah. Then I went to see this guy, but in his house, it was a practice.
Hmm
No, no, no. I think it was more than a. No, my friend saw me a month later, and then he was, "Wow, you got." Then he asked me what did I do, and I told him. Then he was laughing. We
Yeah.
kept practicing. There was a small tournament, like a junior tournament, and I entered. Then I took
Mm,
fifth place, and that guy won, right? And then
mm,
I continued to train. I think it was like 3 months passed since the first time I went to practice with him. He couldn't touch me.
yeah, that's
It
cool.
was
We had a similar kind of start. My same sort of thing. I lost to an arm wrestle to a guy, and just my competitive nature came out to me that I was like, no, I want to beat this guy, and this is how I discovered the sport professionally because I started looking up arm wrestling technique. I
uh,
wanted to refine my technique, and in the process of doing that, I saw all these videos of yourself and John and the Blankoff, and I was like, what the hell is this? There's an actual sport out there, and but yeah, I did the same thing. I was using own body weight suspended on cables and hand and wrist and pronation and wrist rise and all these things. And the month went by and I gripped up with my mate again and it was all over once you got some specific stuff. So,
yeah.
but so
Lucky for you, there was videos, man. There was like in
yeah,
my time, nothing to
well,
see.
you just had over the top. That was it.
That was it. I was
Even but
watching every
even
week.
yeah, even over the top, I had some pretty good stuff in there, I guess, but a little bit theatrical, but
Yeah, it takes some time for it to develop. Like today, it's everybody's
Mm,
trying to be a specialist, but it's not that
mm,
easy. But at least you have material. You have a lot of YouTube channels that you can
mm. Yeah. Well, we
learn
see
the
that. I see that
basics.
so much. I don't know how your club's going over there, but I know the Brisbane club here. When we have a new guy turn up now, they're already moving well. Like they turn up already knowing the sport. They know what a hook and a top roll press is. They know how to defend. They know what hand control is. They know the fundamentals. And it's like, whoa, these people are starting way better than I started.
Oh yeah,
That's for
it took
sure.
me it took me some. Reality is, I know, the thing I think it was my main weapon back then. It was the speed. I was,
Yeah.
I was always super aggressive, like in a hard hit, but I never trained
Mm.
for it. It just mentally starts, and I just embraced
Yeah.
that. It was just, but my hand was always the thing that I was doing for my hand. It was I was training with the tennis ball hand, which is hard to
Yep.
squeeze. My
Yep.
intention is to squeeze until I threw it blue.
When was your peak, or are you at, when do you consider yourself at your best? Are you at your best now, or was there a time that you think you were better?
Oh my God. It's a hard question because I had injuries in the between. I was very
Mm.
good in early 2000s. It's when I first beat John, I believe. I beat.
Yep.
It was on and off because it depends. I couldn't dedicate myself fully to arm wrestling because when I first came to the States in early 2000s, I start working in like construction stuff. It mess you up a little bit. You get your hands stronger and
Mm.
wrist, but the full training camp and you can't do it. You
Mm.
gotta
Yeah. Gotcha.
you gotta listen to your body. And I was still training hard, as hard as I can, but I had injuries because I was competing basically every month. I was going somewhere. I
Yep.
start, you know, having some rivals like Ron. First time I pulled Ron, he pinned me in an Arnold Classic, and he blinked to me. I was like, okay, I will catch
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
was that was another drive, but then and the next time I pulled him, I beat him. He said he was dropping to 209, and I dropped right behind him. We
Yep.
used to have like a show of the strength from GNC. They used to
Mhm.
sponsor professional tournaments here. It was big tournaments. I was in the same class back then as me, Ron Bath, Todd Hutchings, Mike Solaris, Bill Sinks,
Yeah. Yeah. I
Jim
remember the footage.
Bryan. It was huge classes.
I've seen footage from those old tournaments. They're amazing. Like, yeah, it's fascinating seeing the emergence of that North American kind of legends kind of category, which yeah, from right back then there were some amazing battles, and yeah,
Yeah, no,
I
pretty
love the
much.
I love the longevity of the sport. Like, what are you, 30 years now in the sport?
Since I started, yes, 30 years, exactly 30 years.
Wow.
Internationally, like 25, but
Yep.
30 years, yeah, since I started. It's a long
My
time.
goodness.
Imagine yourself at that long. It's a
I
long
know.
time.
I hope. I'm certain I will be 30 years in the sport as well. If I try to guess where my peak's going to be, I feel like 5 years from now, I feel like I'll be at the best I've ever been, and I don't know. That might be as high as I get. I feel it. I'll be 40 years old in 5 years, so
Mm.
um,
40 years old, if you do everything right, it's a good age for strength, I think,
yeah,
in
yeah.
arm
I remember
wrestling.
my dad. I remember my dad telling me he felt like he was at his strongest ever in life at 40. So
Mm.
and I just look at the North American greats, and a lot of them seem to peak somewhere around that 40, early 40s zone. I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's the goal. I've actually booked a super match with Devin Larratt because he's 10 years older than me. When he's 50 and I'm 40, we've agreed on the super match.
Yeah,
But he
I don't know. I felt good like 2 years ago. I was feeling really good when I pulled Krasimir.
hmm
I was actually, in my opinion, I could have even done better. I have to work until like 4 or 5 days before the match. I feel
mm,
like I had to rest a little more. That was my
mm,
feeling, but you do everything. But I trained really good because my previous season in the WAL, even though I look good, but I didn't dedicate much.
mm.
And then I'm like, I don't want to. I gotta, I gotta
What's on
game
the
up.
What's on the horizon for you? Obviously, with COVID, everything got knocked over. WAL season's gone. Are you still under contract with WAL, or are you free to do what you want? Or
Yeah, I was one of the first people they contact after after they stopped doing the tournaments in
Mm.
early the end of 2017 or beginning of 2018 when they were going to start a series. Yeah, there was 5 years contract. Uh,
Mm.
but I don't think WAL. I don't feel like they're not too. They don't make you like you just have you just need to talk to them about it. And if you want to do something, go to some tournament. It's about like just
That's cool.
television and
Yeah.
internet basically.
Because I was just wondering if you are going to throw your hat in the ring of Zlotiter again, or like
Yeah,
105 kilo. There's a top 8 for 105 kilo.
I'm using that T-shirt.
Yeah, no. What I mean, are you in range of 105 kilo?
I'm a little heavier. I'm 110,
Yeah, okay.
110,
Yeah,
111. I
yeah.
just you don't train as much as you used to. All these COVID restrictions. What are you gonna do? You eat more.
Mm,
But I
yeah.
was even though when I make 105 back then, I was 109. I make a 105. It was
Mm,
my first time. It was just it was a good experience. My
mm,
lefty was not really totally recovered. My right was feeling strong. I lost on fouls. I messed up a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, I contested the last the guy because the guy who took third, I was flashing him, and then they gave me two fouls. I look at the video, I didn't see nothing. Try to
Mm,
pay the $50 to you know
yeah, yeah. Get the review.
yeah to get a review. But from them, but they said over there they're very strict. Like if the two referees agree there was a foul, they don't even see the videos. Like why? I mean, they
Wow.
didn't even get to see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's great. Yeah,
I was
it's hard to get
disappointed
away with it.
because Krasi took first, right?
Yeah.
I have Krasi. I flash an Ukrainian guy, then I flash Yoshikanai. Yoshikanai just
Hmm.
before me, he just beat the guy who won the WAF at 110 kilos. A guy from Russia, I forgot his name. So he kings moved the guy and beat the guy. And then he came to me. I remember he said, "Can we go to the straps?" I was like, "No, you have to earn it." And he tried to scrape and grab his fingers, and I put him
Yeah.
down really quick. I didn't
Yeah.
get him, let him get to the straps because I knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
get,
Don't
I
want to
think I don't know if I got Krasi in the third or fourth match. I was undefeated, and I had two fouls in the hook, but the match was stuck in the middle. I
get.
felt good in there, so he gave me an idea because I see Krasi beating some good guys, and I just I couldn't be so aggressive there. You just have to sit a little bit. You just precautious,
Mm-hmm.
because over
Hmm.
here we use everything you have because the pads are bigger and softer. Over there the
Yeah.
pads are hard. So
Yeah. Well, that
any little thing they will
anything,
see it.
anything. Yeah. I know when my one bloody tour experience, it was an eye opener in terms of, yeah, the conditions of the match were very different. The the strictness of the no movement in the setup. That was the thing that I struggled with most. I'm so used to Australian, which is very similar to North American style pulling,
Hmm.
where there's a lot of freedom to fight in the grip,
Right.
and there's a lot of load and tension, and then all of a
Uh,
sudden I'm told don't move, and I'm not allowed, and I can't even subtly move anywhere without being told it was going to be fouled. So it was
yes, I was
like real,
scared at some point. I'm like I can't foul. Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
just feel like you can't do everything you want to do. Like you feel like you
yeah,
know.
yeah. You feel like you're not connected. You're like, I'm not. I need to be 20 mils this way, but you can't move. You're already
Hmm.
locked down where you are, and you're just like, ah. So I know
You
for me
gotta
this
train
last,
for it. It's a different
yeah,
setup. It's
this
everything's
this last,
different. I mean, I've done it, but just by being so long without doing it, I
mm,
felt a little bit.
yeah. Well, this last 12 months for me has been the focus on trying to become ready for that environment again. I want to compete in the Zloty Tour again,
It's pretty
um,
good.
and so I've been training ref scripts, no movement, and just center table strength, just being able to go hard
Hmm.
right from the center,
If
even when your hand doesn't feel necessarily secure, but just trusting it and going anyway.
Yeah, I remember Ingen Thursday when I lost for five. Like I lost to Krasi, and then I pull another Russian, and I flash him. Then they said elbow fall. I'm like, okay. So I took my time. I just opened him. He was not a problem, but
Mm.
then I opened him. Then I pinned him. Then he said elbow foul. I was like, what? How?
Kidding me.
I didn't go fast. I like I secured my position and I put him down.
Yeah, yeah,
The guy
yeah,
took third place, so I could be in the top three. And then I took eight,
yeah,
I think seven or eight place. I'm like, my goodness.
yeah. That's annoying.
And you come from so long. That's the thing, though. You travel so long, and something could
Yeah,
not go your
yeah.
way. If you get pinned, you got pinned. But it's just
But when you to travel all that way, lose on fouls when it wasn't, when it's debatable whether there was a foul, it's not good. The one thing I dislike most about the rigid rules setup. I much prefer running elbow fouls.
so much better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I'm
don't
happy
stop
with
the
the strict
match.
starts, but running elbow fouls makes a big difference. It's just criminal to lose a match on a nonsense elbow foul that's not even there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
think at least they used to give like once it goes to the ref grip you can move, but they used to give you one warning. They used to give it I don't know how it is right now. There used to be one warning, two warnings equals a foul, right?
mm,
But then
mm,
you start over, and
mm, mm.
but over there if it's a ref grip, it's a set grip, you can't move. You got to foul right away,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's rough, man. Ryan, let me ask you, uh, when do you think you reach your because I know you said you started 2013,
Mm.
and I noticed like your level went up, you know, even when you came over here. Remember New York?
Yeah, yeah,
That's 3 years ago, right? Something like
yeah.
that.
That was 2018. We met in New York. Yeah,
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah,
yeah. And my level since then, yeah, jumped
yeah,
up
you
again.
progress.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I've gone through a few chapters. I mean, the first 4 years was there was not really any international experience. It was just myself. I had the pleasure of having Devin Larratt visit a couple of times, so I got to learn from him, and I really took note of the direction that he kind of recommended to me at the time. I got a lot of table time. I was lucky enough to have Jordan Davis live local to me, and we arm wrestled most days of the week, probably averaging 5-6 days a week for a number of years. So, and we really took an approach of understanding the technique as opposed to trying to just get strong. So we're very, very technical sort of arm wrestling. Um, but then I had my match with Justin Bishop 2017, and that was my
I
first
saw that match.
exposure to the international standard, and that my hand did fine in that match. I felt balanced with Justin in the hand, and maybe even slightly ahead on the hand. But it was so clear to me after that match that I didn't have side pressure. I didn't have sufficient back pressure.
It looks
Um,
like you pronate, but you lose like this, right?
yeah, yeah, that's it. I got the pronation set, but then my arm just opened.
Hmm.
So after that match, I was like, all right, I need side pressure, and I just went and started training ugly side pressure in the gym, and then 2000, so that for about a year I was training like that. um, 2018 was when I got the opportunity to pull bottom eight, and
I
I
remember
got
that.
to, yeah, and that was a really big year. That was a year where I stepped up in terms of I think my table ability. Beating Evan Burgoyne, I was no one in the room expected me to do that. People were thinking Chris Gobby was going to beat me that day, but I beat
Hmm.
Evan, and yeah, that was kind of awesome. And then I got the invite to WAL, and then
Hmm.
and I spent a year training under the guidance of Todd Hutchins, which really changed a lot in terms of my elbow conditioning. And it got to the point where I honestly think my side pressure is better than most of my opponents that I face these days. Um,
Hmm.
it's actually become I think my biggest weapon is my ability to just lean on my elbow and trust that it's going to stand up better than my opponents. And
Yeah.
um,
I called
so
Todd like I think last year I was doing in the middle of the pandemics. I was having elbow problems, like doing nothing, and then he
mm,
told me about the GM press that he was doing.
JM presses, yeah.
It's pretty
They're
good
really
though.
good. I do them almost every session in the gym. I hit JM presses just because as a preventative, it seems to be so good on that tendon right in the elbow that with all the common flexors from the forearm and whatnot. But yeah, and then this continuing to answering the question on the evolution of kind of my level. When I met you, I pulled Dan Mosier that time, and I lost 6-0 to Dan. It wasn't a bad 6-0.